The vast savannah, the winding rivers, the sparse forests. I know them all pretty much by heart. As little as 15 years ago, this place for the wildlife was a real Garden of Eden. Today, they're just fighting for survival. All around the rim of the Rift Valley, every species is seeing the effects of the climate and of man eating away at its territory. I've been filming the animals of this park for over 10 years. It's become my job. But this time, they all seem more stressed and more hostile to man, and the land's more arid than ever. Predator or prey, the different species are having to learn to live all crowded up together. Will they all kill each other and just fade away, or will they learn to adapt to their new situation? I've been away from here for 2 years. This is the first time I felt they're really in danger. This herd of elephants, out here in the open, far away from the trees they usually sleep under, I know them well. The females are all sticking together for a good reason. They're waiting for a happy event. These matriarchs have been patrolling the park for many years. It's as if they were watching over the other animals. I'm glad they seem calm. Their trunks sniff at the air for any danger. They know that when night falls, the predators aren't far behind. Ten years ago, there were nearly 20,000 elephants here in the park. Now, there are barely 5,000 left. I'm dismayed to see that, despite all the laws passed since 1953 to protect the area, poaching is still causing much harm here. So the arrival of a new baby elephant is a highly symbolic event for me. The females all gather round the matriarch as she gives birth. She's settled on a bank of loose sand, so her little one will have a soft landing into the world. Mother and child say their first hellos. This first tender exchange will bond them for life. The little one will never forget the smell of his mother. Once he's on his feet, they have to get going and leave the river of sand for the safety of the trees. The females all surround the new arrival. To get to cover, they have to cross the hunting ground of the lions. After man, the elephant's greatest predator. In lean times like these, the big cats never stray far from the river. They all go there every day at some point. As a food store, it's very exposed, and the lions really like that. The whole family's here. The elephants know there's safety in numbers. Ears waving and trumpeting, they're pretty intimidating. And they stick together. They're the first to charge, and the little ones are right behind them. It's their first attack. The herd heads off across the plain. They're safe. For now. A young one's been hurt in the attack. He's exhausted and having trouble keeping up with his mother and sister. I've been observing them for a long time, and I know a herd of elephants always keeps on the move. It covers dozens of miles to find food, especially if there are little ones to suckle. And the food is getting scarce around here. There's not much left on the trees. If a little one's handicapped, it puts the whole family in danger. Predators are quick to spot a herd's weak spot. So it's up to the matriarchs to decide his fate. One time, I saw a mother abandon her own either sick or wounded offspring to save the rest of the group. Happily, though, this time they slow down so the little fellow can keep up. With that limp, he's really struggling. Without food and care, I doubt that this little one will survive. But for now, the herd has stopped and gathered round him. At least they can all have a rest. The youngest ones lie down, the others just relax as best they can. Tonight, the big cats are all out on the prowl, and it's full moon, so everyone's on the alert. I decide to stay up with them. I'm lucky enough to get a glimpse of a leopard. Normally they hunt in the morning or late in the afternoon. They're the world's fastest mammal. This canoe never had a chance. But even more than predators, it's poachers and drought that are the animals' worst enemies. It's 50 degrees Celsius at the height of the dry season, with no shade and just a few increasingly rare stagnant puddles. To survive in such conditions, you have to make do with what little there is, and make sure you get your share. The natural cycle of life here has been disrupted. Even between the predators, the tension is mounting. There's an urgency here that I've never felt before. For some species, there's just not enough. And there are more and more of them. Large numbers of animals are dying of hunger, injuries, or thirst. I'm not so much sad about this as angry. How can this unique and special place be preserved? There aren't the funds to stop all the poachers, and the dams built upstream are taking the water from a river that once never dried up. Even the baboons are on edge, and they're the most resourceful of all here on the savannah. The chief of the troop is on watch. He doesn't miss a thing. They're getting supplies in, and no one's going to get in the way. Only the baboons can find food 60 feet off the ground. They have a couple of natural advantages that none of the other animals have: fingers and the ability to defy gravity. The most agile of them feed themselves first, but they don't forget their family down there waiting for their meal to fall from the sky. They're so busy feasting on ripe fruit that they don't notice there's danger close at hand. A baboon is a leopard's favorite lunch, and this leopard's feeling a little peckish. The antelopes are a warning sign. If they're calm, then there are no predators about. If they run off, though, it's time to be worried. Try as the leopard may to camouflage himself, the chief baboon still spots him and calls for backup. But no matter how much the big males puff up their chests, I can't see them getting the better of a leopard, a beast that can make short work of a monkey. These baboons don't lose their cool, though. On the contrary, they go on the offensive. To my surprise, the leopard finds himself outnumbered, and the baboons win the day with their teamwork. So the leopard goes off to try and find his lunch somewhere else. It goes to show that those baboons can be tougher than anyone. They just won't let anyone else on their turf or near their food. While his tribe are all preening and grooming, the chief is patrolling the invisible borders of his territory. Even the buffalo don't bother him. Of all the animals I've been filming for 10 years now, it's the buffalo that really fascinate me. They usually live in herds of several hundred, but when there's a drought, they all converge on the sources of water in a great army, often more than 1,000 strong. It's quite a crowd. I've never seen so many of them around here. If all these different species are huddling into the same shrinking area, there must be a serious problem. They're fleeing from the poachers, who are encroaching on the protected borders of the park. The trade in fur, hunting trophies, and ivory just keeps on decimating the herds. All around the edge of this territory of almost 8,000 square miles, the water has been diverted to grow rice. There are roads appearing now, and towns. Round here, at least, there are a few sources of water left. That explains this incredible concentration of different species and the difficult conditions they now live in. This really is their last refuge. But first, they have to get at the water, and the buffalo aren't always that welcoming. The oxpecker birds, with their orange beaks, aren't at all bothered by all the hurly-burly. On the contrary, the buffalo provide them with all they need. Once aboard, the buffalo's little helpers make themselves right at home. They feed themselves on anything they can find there: parasites, dead skin, secretions. Up till now, this exchange of goods and services has always seemed pretty smart to me, but I've noticed something new and quite disturbing. It's always been a benign collaboration, but not so much now. The oxpeckers are no longer just cleaning the buffalo, they're actually digging into their open wounds. They're developing a taste for blood. The buffalo's little friends are turning into parasites, and they're not easy to get rid of. There's one good thing about the oxpeckers, though. If there's danger, they sound the alarm. Where there are buffalo, there are lions. The amazing thing here is that the herd of buffalo is standing up to the predators as if they were keen for a fight. The males form a wall around the females and the young. Then, a few at a time, they charge. The young males are aggressive, strong, and determined. No buffalo on the menu today for the lions. It's the law. The loser has to leave. But this attack has proved one thing. If the herd's to stay safe, it's time for someone else to take over command. So combat begins with the old leader of the herd. He's too weak now, and he's beaten. All his authority is lost. It's time for him to leave. The females now show their allegiance to the new dominant male. They rub themselves against his anal glands to take on his scent. He'll be the stud now. And suddenly, he's very popular. The old buffalo, driven out of the herd, wanders down by the water. He just wasn't made to live alone. And now that he's on his own, he's vulnerable. He seeks out the protection of other species. The old buffalo can smell danger. The elephants too. The lionesses have snuck up downwind. When they pounce, it's already too late. Having watched the old buffalo die rejected by his clan, I'm glad to see the elephants again. And the little lame one doing okay. The matriarch's sticking by him. And she's making sure he stays out of trouble. Because those lionesses are too close for her liking. At last, water. It's what elephants love best. For the little lame one and his sister, bath time is sacred. The lions haven't missed any of this, of course. But as long as the matriarch's there, they won't try anything. The little ones can play in safety. Some species will just never get along, but there are others who live together with no problem. When the big cats aren't there, the waterhole becomes a peaceful place to be. Strangely, the waders have no fear of the crocodiles. They even share with them an enthusiasm for fishing. The crocodiles here eat more fish than they do larger herbivores. And when they start trying to catch them, it's a field day for a lot of rather cheeky egrets, herons, and storks. Water is a truly powerful force, when there is any. In the welcome cool of the late afternoon, this smart behavior from the animals gives me hope. When the next day I come across the chief of the baboons still on watch, I'm wondering whether he'll stay the course today. All they seem to think about is eating. At least this time they're willing to share with the neighbors downstairs. The impala are most grateful for the sausage tree flowers thrown down to them, on purpose or not, it's hard to say, by the climbers up above. There's no such luck for the elephants. Down at ground level, there's really not much to wrap your trunk around. The matriarch's the only one who can reach the high branches. And with true maternal instincts, she offers the fresh shoots to her little ones. They're a real treat for the baby elephants. But this is also a learning process. By helping them to feed, their mother's also teaching them how to survive. And they're fast learners. An elephant can eat up to 200 kilos of vegetation a day, so these bush trees aren't going to last long. The matriarch pulls down several of them a day to feed her family and digs into the bark of the biggest ones in search of water. Their feasting makes the baboons happy too. Yes, them again. They don't turn their noses up at sorting through the elephant's droppings to pick out all the seeds and grains. You don't survive here if you can't get to the water. The baboon clan are all back at the River of Sand, where only those species who know how to dig can find water. It's a skill shared by the monkeys, the elephants, and the zebras. It was by watching them tunneling into the sand that I first understood that there was an actual river under it, and that they knew they could find fresh water there, filtered down through the thick sand. But there are some who aren't happy about the baboons taking over like this. The wild dogs are passing through. They don't know how to drink from water holes, and they don't appreciate being taunted by baboons. The chief even comes down to let them know they're not welcome here. He marks out his territory with his scent. And the dog's alpha male makes his reply. They size each other up, but nobody bites. In any case, the wild dogs aren't staying long. They're nomads with no territory of their own, and they only settle down somewhere if they have females giving birth. I've been looking for them in the park for ages, but I've never seen them before now. Some people call them painted wolves, and thanks to man, they're now a vanishing species. There are only a few packs left in Africa, in the south and the west of the continent. Even the zebras are wary of them. They're fearsome hunters. The zebras have come to the park in large numbers this year. They must be coming from somewhere even drier. It's the very first time I've witnessed a fight, and it's between two females. The males don't need any brawling to decide who gets the females. In this mating game, it's the females themselves who go at it, kicking and biting, sometimes even to the death. But however violent things might sometimes get, a herd of zebras will always stick together. Unlike the old buffalo, the loser here defers to her rival and remains part of the family. As evening falls, the herd of zebras heads for the waterhole to quench its thirst. It's the best moment of the day, as well as the most dangerous. It's both the time and the place for ambushes. Along with the buffalo, zebras are among the favored prey of the lionesses. It's as if they'd all arranged to be here at this hour, and for the wind, once again, to be in their favor. Lionesses teach their offspring the art of hunting. That's how they bring up generations of predators. They see the hunt as a mother's duty and an education for their young. Their prey is their gift to the cubs. I know them well, this pride of lions. Some of these females were just cubs themselves when I first filmed them. And they're starting to get to know me and accept me. Until they become adults, the males and the females can both feast on the same prey. But that prey is only ever shared among the same clan. There are fewer and fewer big prides of lions in the park, though. I mainly see just little family groups that have to be satisfied with carrion rather than a fresh kill. The female knows to keep her distance, but the cubs can usually share their father's supper with him. Not this time, though. For some reason, the lion doesn't want them to eat with him. It's very unusual behavior. The mother tolerates this defiance from her cubs. She knows these two are brave little scrappers who won't give up easily their share of impala, even if it means getting a few scratches, and giving a few back too. The lion gives in. After all, these kids are starving. One of the females is hungry too. The cubs have broken the ice, so she decides to have a try and runs off with the lot. In lean times like these, it's each for his own. Even the mother lion won't share. The two cubs are too tired to fight about it. They're so skinny now that I fear for their lives. Our family of elephants are searching for food too. They've eaten all the leaves, so they've started on the trunks, the bark and the wood of the baobabs, which are still full of water even in the dry season. They're voracious. Nothing escapes those trunks that can sniff out moisture anywhere. And that's the paradox. The elephants can't live without trees, but by destroying so many square miles of forest, they're putting their own lives in danger. By heading ever further into the bush like this, they're endangering the habitats of other species too, starting with that inviolable sanctuary, the lion's den. Faced with heavy weights like this, the lioness has to get her litter out of the way for fear of them being trampled. The newborn cubs are blind for the first 2 weeks, so without their mother, they're lost. So she has to find a safe place that the elephants can't get to. Fond as I am of these giants, I have to recognize that they're damaging the park by changing the whole landscape, constantly eating away at the sheltering forest. In this jumble of torn-up trees, the other animals find themselves trapped, and in many cases separated from their kind. Even the little lame elephant has trouble getting through the wreckage. He's not doing well. The bigger he grows, the more his injury is handicapping him. Hard to believe, but this was once all an ancient forest. Today, seen from above, it's like a game of pick-up sticks. A sad sight indeed. The consequences for the survival of the different species here in the park are dramatic. The disappearance of the trees accelerates the already galloping erosion of the soil. The sun-scorched earth won't retain any moisture when the rainy season comes. In the dried-out riverbed, the heat leaves no chance at all to the sick, the old, the weak. Water is essential for the buffalo. More than any other animal, they need to drink every day. Here, though, there's not a drop to be found. The herd keeps on searching, but some of them just don't have the strength to go on. This old buffalo doesn't have long to live. If he doesn't find water, it's all over for him. But one of the clan has other ideas. I've never seen anything like this before, and as I film it, I'm moved by the sense of brotherhood shown by these two males. Faced with ever rougher conditions, the buffalo seem to be showing increasing solidarity. Now it's time for me to leave. I'm swinging between anger and the fascination I've always felt. This paradise has changed so quickly and seems to be in such danger now that I'm wondering how I'll find it next time I come. You may not actually see the hand of man here, but its effects are everywhere around these hills. And it's what will decide the fate of these species. So, will the elephants keep on breeding so fast despite the poaching? Will the lionesses still be able to feed their families? And will the buffalo have enough water to survive? As for the baboons, I'm not so worried about them. They'll always get by. I'm privileged to bear witness to this last refuge, so I hope this film will give people a better understanding of all the dangers that this wild way of life is facing. Despite all the intelligence these animals are showing in adapting, cooperating, and sharing their few remaining resources, the situation is dire. On their own, they'll not be able to stand up for long to mankind's exploitation that is rapidly eroding their whole ecosystem. It's up to us to come to their aid and to protect their Garden of Eden while making as little noise as possible.